Hey guys, today we're doing Chapter 4, Section 2, which is on lengths of arcs and areas of sectors. So the first thing we're going to talk about is circular arc length, and we did a little warm-up on arc length the other day. Basically, arc length is just if you're thinking about the circumference or the distance that you travel to get around a circle, arc length is just if you're taking a distance for a certain degree. So, for example, if I had, my unit circle here and I wanted to travel 135 degrees. Well, then instead of going all the way around the circle, I'm just going through this arc. So the measure of that arc, or the length of that arc, would be called the arc length. So the formula for arc length, if you're talking about radians, so your degree measures in, your angle measures in radians, then the formula here would be arc length, which is S, equals R, which is your radius, times theta, which is your radians. So this stands for arc length. Your R stands for your radius, and your theta stands for your radians. Okay? Then if you have degrees instead, you can use this formula, which is 2 pi r times theta over 360, where r is, again, your radius, and theta is your degrees. Remember, S still stands for arc length, radius is r, and theta is the measure of your angle of degrees. So, if I want to find the length of an arc of a circle of radius 8 meters, and the central angle of the arc is 5 pi over 6, well, notice that this is not labeled in degrees, and it has a pi in it, so that pretty much tells us right away that this is in radian measure. Okay, so since this is in radian measure, I know I'm going to use this formula, S equals r theta. So, S equals r theta, well, I'm looking for S. I know that my radius is 8 meters, and I know that my theta is 5 pi over 6. So now before I actually multiply this out, I'm just going to simplify this. So if I divide by 2, I get 4 and 3. So this is going to be 20 pi over 3. And I'm just going to leave my answer like that. Okay. Now in the book, some of the book problems actually multiply the answers out. So I think like in the book you would get 20.94 or something like that. And that's in meters. And in your homework, you guys can do that, but just remember that on the tests and on the quizzes for this chapter, you will not have a calculator at all, so you wouldn't actually be able to get down to this. Instead, I would expect you to leave it in simplest terms. Okay, next thing we want to talk about is a circle sector area formula. So basically, when you're talking about a circle, and we're talking about the area of that circle, okay, we're talking about the shaded area of the circle. Well, what if you just want the area of a sector? So let's say that instead of talking about the whole area here, I'm just talking about the area of this 90-degree angle here. So it's kind of like a pie slice. Okay, that's what these formulas are giving you. They're giving you the area of just a portion of the circle. All right, so looking at this problem here, the first thing I'm going to ask myself is, do they give me degrees or do they give me radians? So it looks like they're giving me degrees because they're telling me it's 315 degrees. So I know that means I'm going to use this formula. So now I can actually go through and try plugging in some of my information for this formula. So I need to find my radius. They tell me my diameter is 22 inches. I know that's all the way across the circle, so the radius would be half of that. So my r equals 11. So I would have pi times 11 squared times 315 over 360. 11 squared is just 121. So I have 121 times pi times, if I take 315 over 360, I believe that simplifies down to 7/8. Okay, so my area here, You can just leave it like that. Again, in the book, it's going to actually calculate it out for you. So you would get either 105.875 pi, if you want to leave it in terms of pi, or if you actually multiply the pi through, you get 332.62. And that was in inches squared, because it's area. Okay, so that is everything for that section. Basically, when you're doing these problems, remember that the formulas are all given to you on the formula sheet, but you can't write on your formula sheet because I don't want you adding any information for the test. So you just need to know which formula belongs to what. And then as you approach each of these problems, you start by asking yourself, are they giving me radians or are they giving me degrees? And then you ask yourself, am I looking for arc length or am I looking for area? Okay, so once you distinguish those, you can easily pick out which formula to use, and then it'll be easy to actually determine the answer. Also, just remember that on your test, on your quiz, you will not be allowed to have a calculator, so you will just have to leave it in the simplest terms instead of actually going through and calculating it. Whereas on the homework, in the answers, they give you the calculated answer, so you might actually have to go through and calculate it out just to make sure that you're doing it correctly. All right, that's everything for section 2.